There are two parts to trading on FIFA 22 Ultimate Team. The first part is finding good deals, and the second part is being able to sell them on for profit. If you can improve the efficiency of just one of these areas, you could go on to make a lot of coins in a very short amount of time. In today's video, I'll be sharing some tips that can help you sell players a lot quicker. Before we do get into the video, if you're looking to get some very easy coins which saves you from having to trade, then there is no better place than Mule Factory. Head over there to get yourself some cheap, fast FIFA 22 coins, completely reliable, and if you use Fnatic5 at checkout, you'll also get yourself a 5% discount. Link can be found in the description down below. Getting back into the video, I get messages and comments all the time from people who follow along with the trading methods shown here on this channel, and they find that it's working perfectly fine to find deals, but unfortunately they don't sell within the first hour. This happens. Trading isn't easy. It requires patience as you keep on relisting players until eventually they do sell on. This could be within the first hour, could be a couple days, or it could even take a couple weeks. I really can't tell you, but the good news is that there are things that you can do to speed up the process. The first way, and the most obvious way, is to list them at a lower price. This is an extremely obvious one, but it does need to be said. If you're struggling to sell a player, you could always lower the player's price. Chances are you don't want to do this because if you're in a position where you've had this one player on your transfer list for a few weeks, they're not selling, and if you lower them anymore, you will lose coins. If you're in that position, I recommend just selling the player and taking a loss now. Get your coins back and then go through other types of trading methods to get back all of those coins that you've just lost. Sitting there waiting for a player to sell which is overpriced just so you can break even is not worth your time. I make losses on trades all the time, but the key is to limit those losses as much as you can. To best avoid some of these trades where you will be losing coins is to always look at the player's lowest buy now before you place a bid on them. And instead of looking to sell that player at that price, you could either take a couple hundred or even a couple thousand coins depending on the player. If I was looking to bid on rare gold players and the lowest price when I checked the market was 1,500 coins, I could list 1,300, 1,400 to get a very quick sell. It should sell within the first 10 to 15 minutes depending on the demand for that player. If we're looking at more expensive players, let's say I'm looking at an icon worth 500,000 coins as the lowest buy now, I could list at 490, which is undercutting the market by 10,000 coins, and if anyone is searching for that player, they will see mine as the cheapest and hopefully will buy them. With icons in this scenario, even though my player is the lowest listed on the market, it doesn't mean that it's going to sell within the first hour. These players tend to be more expensive and it takes more of a commitment on other players to use their coins to buy players like this. As long as yours is the cheapest on the market, just keep on relisting and eventually they will sell. The second thing to do is to list for longer durations. 90% of your players will sell within the first hour. This is because most players can't be bothered to scroll through loads of pages to find different types of cards. If you're available at certain times of the day to keep on relisting, it's a good idea to relist for just 1 hour and keep on doing this over and over again. But if you're not available throughout the day, you really can't go wrong with using the 3, 6 or 12 hours, and if you really need to, you could list players for multiple days. It's much better to list players on the transfer market even if you can't do the 1 hour duration and you have to go for something a lot longer. It's much better to select that rather than listing a player for 1 hour but only being able to do it one time per day. My process is that I normally start the day off by playing FIFA and I relist all the players that didn't sell the night before. Normally I would list for around 6 hours. Once the 6 hours are up, I will continue to relist players for the 1 hour duration until I get bored or even tired and ready to go to bed. This is where I will list for 12 hours overnight. If you're going to take anything away from this video, the number one tip is to list your players for 12 hours overnight. So many people forget to relist overnight and it means there's a lot less live transfers during this time. This forces player prices to increase as they're rarer, so players will have to pay more, and for you as a trader, you will have a much higher chance of selling that player. If you really want to maximize the most amount of coins for your trades, you could also slightly increase the player's price as you go to list them for 12 hours overnight. Of course, doing this makes it slightly harder for you to be able to sell that player, but it does maximize the most amount of coins you can make if they do sell on. The choice is entirely up to you. The third tip is to list some players individually rather than using the auto relist. Now this does come down to what type of trading method that you're using. If you've got 100 players within your transfer list and all of them are different, listed at different prices, it really makes no difference. Just use the auto relist and you will be able to save yourself a lot of time. But if you are using a method where you've got loads of the exact same player and they're all being listed at a similar price, it's actually better to list individually. With the auto relist, when you use this gameplay mechanic, it lists all players in the exact same second. Sounds handy for listing, but when it comes to these players expiring, it also means that they're going to expire all in the exact same second. And this may not sound like too much of a problem, but think of it from a buyer's perspective. They're going through the transfer market, they see loads of cards expiring within a couple seconds, they go across one page just so they have enough time to analyze some of the deals, and as they go across one page, even though it just skips 1 or 2 seconds, it does mean that they're skipping all of the players that you've just listed. Yes, this person has just gone across one page, but based on timings of players when they are listed, this person has actually gone across one page but has skipped hundreds of potentially good deals. Now, you can't actually do anything about this. If you try and search yourself of going onto the transfer market and going across and then back pages, you will lose a lot of deals. It's the same reason why we go through the bronze and silver trading method and I tell you to add players to the watch list even if you don't know if they're going to be a good deal, because if it turns out that they are a good deal, you won't be able to find them on the transfer market by searching player by player. To best increase your chances of selling some of these players is to list them one by one manually. I end up doing this on a weekly basis because when I go through the bulk bidding method, there's always some players left behind that don't sell and then they get stuck in a continuous loop when I keep on using the auto relist. Unfortunately, if I do have 100 players in my transfer list, I do need to spend a couple minutes going through each one manually to list them onto the transfer market. But after they do expire, I notice that I'm able to sell a lot more of them compared to if I just did the auto relist, so it's definitely worth the time. It should also be said that if you're listing players way below the lowest buy now, it doesn't make any difference whatsoever because you are at the lowest. That player will sell no matter how you relist them. I'm talking about those stragglers that don't sell after going through the likes of the bulk bidding methods, and you get these players left over that you're constantly relisting. And the final tip for this video is to not flood the market. For some players, it really doesn't matter. If we're looking at rare gold players within their default positions with no changes to their chemistry styles, you can list as many of these as you want because there's always going to be a constant supply. If you're not listing those players, someone else will. It really has no effect. But if you're starting to look at bronze players, silver players, moving rare gold cards out of their position or changing their chem style, or you're even starting to look at icons and other types of special cards, if you start to get multiple of the exact same player, it's smart for you to do one of two things. The first thing that you can do is limit the supply onto the market. You will list 1 or 2 and then keep the rest that you have, send them to your transfer list, but do not list them until the others sell. This will give the impression that there's a lower supply, so with this you can use it to your advantage by increasing that player's price. Once they sell on, that is when you'll list another one of your cards which you have already within your transfer list. And you'll keep on doing this until you sell all of your players. The other thing that you can do is list all of them but list them at different prices. Let's say we're going through the position change method and we get 3 players that are exactly the same within the exact same position. We could list one at 5,500, one at 6,000, and one at 6,500. The one that is most likely to sell is the one listed at 5,500. And once that player sells, we can then bring the price down by 500 coins of the other 2 cards. Sometimes we will get lucky where that first player sells at 5,500 coins and it just so happens that nothing else is listed on the market and the next cheapest is also mine at 6,000 coins, and if someone stumbles across that and needs that player, they will buy them, in which we're able to have a higher price for that player. This actually helps us maximize our coins. One thing that I like to do, and I've got no proof whether or not this makes any difference whatsoever, but whenever I go into the transfer market and I search for a player by name and I realize there's 10 to 20 of them all listed at the exact same price at the exact same time, I know someone is trying to price fix. Someone is trying to control this area of the market, and it puts me off from buying them. So when I go and list my players, I also list them at a different time. That way they've all got a completely different price, and there's also a time difference, as one's listed for 1 hour, one's listed at 3 hours, one's listed at 6 hours. So when anyone stumbles across these players in search to buy them, it doesn't look like someone's taken advantage as a trader where they're trying to maximize coins on every single one of these deals. It just looks like someone else has relisted the players that they were using within their club. Have no idea whether or not it makes any difference, but that is something that I do. One thing that definitely makes a difference though is listing players at different prices. And this is to avoid you flooding the market with too many players all listed at the exact same price. Anyway guys, here are some tips that you can use and implement within FIFA 22 Ultimate Team to sell your players slightly quicker. If you do have any questions about anything, then please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. But anyway guys, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did enjoy, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. But for now, I'm going to see ya.